Hey everyone, welcome back to another video, and if you're new here, welcome to the channel. This is another viewer request video, and it comes from Leo Cast Goes. Thank you for the suggestion and for supporting the channel, and also thank you for the help with finding some of the mods. That was definitely a lot of help. So today we're going to take a look at a bunch of retexture mods and compare them to the vanilla game so we can see the difference. As always, all mods featured in the video will be in the video description below, in order, with timestamps and links so you can easily find them. And if you know any retexture mods that you felt should have been in the video, just let me know in the comments so I can add them to the list so people can still see them. Of course, you will receive credit for the addition as usual, and if there's enough of them, I will make a part 2 follow-up video to this one. Throughout the course of the video, you might find it helpful to pause occasionally so you can look at some of the comparisons for a little longer. And quickly before we begin, I just want to say that this video is basically all Xbox One because the mods being featured didn't have any PS4 counterparts except for one. I always try to include PS4 whenever possible, but it just wasn't happening for this video, so I apologize to any PS4 players who might be watching. So to kick things off, we have the mod Ephla's unique chems. At first my expectations for this were a little low, but that was quickly changed because it turns out it's actually really cool. The mod retextures several different chems, those being Stimpack, Jet, Blood Pack, Radaway, Buff Out, Radex, Day Tripper, Mentats, Medex, Glowing Blood Pack, and Psycho. I can't talk about every single chem individually without spending way too much time here, but I'm still displaying them side by side with the vanilla version so you can see the difference. I love the detail in this mod, especially the Blood Pack, because in the vanilla game, the Blood Pack was pretty much blank, but with this mod active it fills in a lot of that information that you would normally see on an actual bag of blood. Well, not really, but it does a good job of making it look less plain. Even here on the Radex, the author even included the NDC number. Like, that's pretty cool. As a follow-up to the previous mod, coming up next is Ephla's unique first aid kits. This changes the look of the assorted first aid kits found around the Commonwealth to something a bit more colorful. As you can tell, it's not a massive change, and it doesn't affect as much as the author's chem retexture does, but I think it's a nice improvement to the vanilla game. Next is real metal power armor frames. This mod makes it so that power armor frames look a little more metallic instead of looking all oxidized and whatnot. The difference is pretty clear here, and I actually really like it even though I'm not much of a power armor person, but if you are a power armor user, I definitely recommend trying this out. Just be aware that using this mod with Vivid Fallout all-in-one makes the metal look a little weird. I can't say it looks bad or anything, it's just different, but I think that's just simply due to what Vivid Fallout all-in-one does. Even without real metal power armor frames active, Vivid Fallout still makes the vanilla frames look different, so if you're planning on using both of these, this might be something to think about. Coming up next is ultra realistic food. At first when I saw this mod I thought to myself, how different could this possibly be? Then when I downloaded the mod and tested it, I quickly found out that the answer is very. It is very different. Although the impact it has on the game is pretty minimal, it still offers a much better take on the vanilla game food. The mod affects Blamco mac and cheese, Cram, Dandy Boy apples, dog food, fancy lads, Instamash, potted meat, which has actually changed to sardines in this mod, pork and beans, potato crisps, Salisbury steak, industrial shortening, and yum yum deviled eggs. I just love the detail put into this mod. For something that only affects food, it's really impressive. Next is Enhanced Blood Textures Basic. This is a mod that greatly improves, as the name suggests, the blood textures in the game. You can tell here that much more blood comes out when you shoot enemies, giving the game a more realistic feel. Because if you look at the vanilla game, if you shoot someone in the head, only a small amount of blood comes out and it doesn't even show up on the ground really. With Enhanced Blood Textures Basic, that is completely changed. It sounds pretty morbid, but look how much better it is. There's way more blood on the ground, and the texture just looks overall better, especially the light reflection. This is pretty impressive, and definitely a mod that will improve the experience. Proto Vault Suit Retexture is our next mod. It basically just retextures vault suits to look a little more rugged. There's definitely a clear difference between the two. I like how the mod adds some depth to the suit. It actually looks like something one would wear for protection rather than something that just looks like a spandex jumpsuit. I think with this mod, people will be more willing to wear vault suits. I mean, I'm just speculating here, but I'm not sure if many people really wear them all that often. But regardless, I think it's a big improvement on the vanilla game. Next, I'm going to cover a bunch of retexture mods for creatures. You'll probably notice that the difference isn't too crazy between some of the mods in the vanilla game, but there's still a difference and I think it's worth showing. So coming up first is Jimhsu's detailed Deathclaws. I think that's how you say his name. This one, I don't know, for what it is, it's definitely really good, because if you look close, there is a difference, and the Deathclaws look much better, but I really had to take a super close look to notice any difference. The texture is clearly better, and there is certainly better detail and color. So overall, the Deathclaws look great, but it's not really something you're going to notice if you aren't right up close. Like I said, for what it is, it's good, but realistically, I can't see it making too much of a difference in your game. But that's just me. Second is Super Mutant HD Turbo. This is the mod I covered in my recreation of Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 video. I will link that in the description if you want to check it out. Like I said in that video, the purpose of this mod was to make the Super Mutants look a little more like they did in Fallout 3. There is clearly a difference in the skin texture, vein texture, and overall change in how they look in terms of muscle definition. Not a big difference, but a difference nonetheless. A follow-up to the last mod is HD Super Mutant Hounds, and I'm not really seeing much of a difference here. The author says the mouths are darker, the eyes are improved, and the skin has light and roll-off to give a more natural look, but to me personally, I'm not seeing much of an improvement improvement. I mean, maybe slightly, but realistically, this isn't something you're going to notice without looking really close. Fourth is Synth HD. The author states on the page that you'll be able to see their parts easier, added surface roll-off for light, and higher resolution Gen 2 eyes, mouth, and new glow maps for the eyes as well. The author said that this will also affect Nick Valentine and Dima, and that the mod will provide for a more worn out look for the synths. I had a hard time seeing the difference with this mod. I think this is another one of those that you won't see unless you look really close. Fifth is another synth retexture. The mod is called Synth Overhaul C.A.S.T. I'm actually a fan of this one. It gives the synths massive variety. The author says that the mod includes 70 different armor pieces, 28 different helmets, 24 different uniforms, and more. I like how all of the synths that spawn have different amounts of armor, and they're all in different colors too. I suppose I could see why one might think this is a little odd because of the variation in amounts of armor, but in my opinion, I think this is one of the better synth mods out there. Sixth is TLS Basic Creature Retextures. This mod isn't exactly a complete retexture, but what it basically does is make some of the creatures look a little more refined and vibrant. The creatures it affects are boatflies, mylark, mole rat, brahmin, rad scorpion, rad stag, and squid. I'm not really sure what the author meant by squid, but hey, that's just what the description says. We don't have the time to talk about all the changes made to each creature, but I will still show a few here. You can easily tell there's not a massive difference, but that's kind of something you'll notice with this video. Some of the mods just don't really do a whole lot. But with this one, I think the biggest differences were the brahmin looking a little more like mutated animals, and the mylark and the rad stags looking a bit more saturated. The next two are ghoul retexture mods, so we will start off with D.E.C.A.Y Better Ghouls. I like what the author did with this one. The skin texture looks really good, and I like the added green color too. It makes them look more irradiated. The other cool part is that the author added large cuts and wounds to their bodies if you look closely. I think this makes the ghouls look much more intimidating. Like, I'm not sure what you guys think, but I personally think the vanilla game ghouls look pretty lame, so I appreciate what this mod does. The second ghoul retexture mod is Detailed Feral Ghouls. I like this one too. The skin texture is definitely upgraded, but I think most of the difference here is in the face. They look much more sinister than the vanilla game ghouls. I think both ghoul retextures have their strengths, so I don't really think you can go wrong either way, but I believe both are a big improvement on the vanilla game without question. Wasteland Creatures Redone is our last creature retexture mod for the video. This one is very cool, but very frustrating at the same time. It auto-disables every time you start up Fallout 4, so you'll have to enable it every time you play, and it likes to freeze your game as well, and the freezing happens quite often. So just that right there sort of makes the mod not worth using. But putting the issues aside and looking at the mod for what it truly is, it's genuinely really good, but I just can't recommend using this until those issues are fixed. Alright, so now that we're done looking at creature retexture mods, it's time to get back into general retextures. Coming up next is HD Lockpick Interface Retexture. All this mod does is make the Lockpick interface look a bit different. I have here on the left the vanilla game, in the middle I have the 1K version, and to the right I have the 2K version of this mod. When comparing them side by side, I honestly wasn't really all that impressed. I think this mod is primarily made for PC, so I assume it's much better on that platform, but for Xbox, you know, for 10 megabytes, I'm not sure if this one is worth it. Next is Rusted Commonwealth. This one is extremely small in terms of what it affects, and the file size will reflect that at 3.4 kilobytes. This mod also happens to be the only mod here that is available for PS4. I really only know of one thing this mod affects, and it's these old looking cigarette machines. This mod basically just covers them in rust. That's pretty much it. I actually covered this mod in my very first video along with Enhanced Blood Textures Basic, but looking back on this one, it's not really something I'd jump out of my seat for anymore. Realistic Roads is our next mod, or mods, I should say. There are two versions of this mod. One is the Fade version, and one is the Black Asphalt version. This is another one that I covered in my Fallout 3 remake video. I actually really like these mods. They're supposed to make the roads look a bit more like they did in Fallout 3, and for the most part, I think it holds up to that. The main difference between the two, in theory, is only the color, but I can barely tell the difference, if there even is any. When I first found this mod back when I was filming for the Fallout 3 remake, I thought I was using the Fade version, but after reading through the comments on the mod's page, I soon learned that the Fade version is actually just the Black Asphalt version. Apparently there's something wrong with the Fade version where it isn't any different, I guess. At least that's what I got out of it. But anyway, between the mods and the vanilla game, the difference is super noticeable. These mods, or should I say singular mod now, are well done, and I recommend them to anyone who wants to make their roads look a bit different. Coming up next are a handful of water retexture mods. So the first mod is Water Enhancement Textures, or WET. As you can probably tell, there isn't really an immediate difference here. I suppose the current is a little stronger, but in the scene with the stream, you can clearly tell that the current is much stronger. Other than that, it's not much different from the vanilla game, but one difference I saw was that the splash effects are much better. I think the mod makes them look less two-dimensional. Like if you look at the vanilla game, the splashes just look plain weird in my opinion. With WET, the splashes look a little more like you'd think they would in real life. I think this mod does its job. It's not game-changing by any means, but I think it's one of those small detail mods that will improve the game's water mechanics. Vivid Waters is next. It serves as a good follow-up to WET because it can be used with it, just make sure you load it after WET. I think the big difference here is the current. I think it looks good in some places, yet not so good in others. Like to me it always looks windy with this mod active, giving the water a very busy look. To me it works really well with the ocean, it looks a little more realistic to me. But if you go to a pond where in theory there shouldn't be as much wind, the pond still looks like it's in the middle of a hurricane. Even the streams look a little too busy. Though looking at the mod for what it truly is, I think it does a good job. I just wish that the textures were different for the different bodies of water. Maybe have the ocean be more busy busy, but have the ponds be more calm, you know? Coming up third in our water section is Clean Water of the Commonwealth. I really like the color this mod provides. It most definitely gives the water a clean and tropical look. Even when you go in the water, you can see much better. Not a big difference in shallow streams as you can tell, but just check out the ocean. This looks so good and it makes me feel like I'm on a tropical island. One thing I noticed about this mod though is that when you're around certain bodies of water, the borders of your screen can look a little weird, sort of like a waving shadow. Vivid Waters kind of does that too, but to a lesser extent. I don't think it's enough to make the mod unusable by any means, but it's just one of those quirks that you'll have to deal with. But hey, a lot of mods have their ups and downs, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. But overall, I really like this mod. Next is the set of clear water mods. I included all levels of this from clearer to crystal clear so we could see if there's any difference. The levels included are vanilla, clearer, much clearer, much clearer, and crystal clear. So right off the bat, I think we can tell that the difference between clear, much clear, and much clearer isn't really a whole lot, if any. To me, they all kind of look the same. Definitely an improvement in visibility from the vanilla game, but between the three, I'm not really seeing a big difference. Obviously, the difference with crystal clear is massive. I don't really think we even need to say anything about that, but what I will say about these mods is that you might have to restart Fallout for it to take effect, but that only takes a couple minutes. But getting back to it, I mean, unless I did something wrong here, I wouldn't even really bother trying out the different levels between clear and much clearer. Just picking one of them should more or less give you the same effect. But I still can't help but feel like I might have done something wrong when testing these. I just feel like there should have been more of a difference, but maybe not. But if you think I did something wrong, just let me know in the comments so I can clear it up in a pinned comment or something so we all know. So that does it for water mods. Let's get back into the last few general retextures for the video. The Ojo Bueno Retexture mods are next. So what I'm displaying are actually individual retexture mods. There is a package version of this that includes everything, but for some reason the package version kept crashing my game. But when using them individually, they seem to work just fine. These mods don't change a whole lot, like I believe each mod only modifies one thing. The mods affect Nuka-Cola vending machines, milk vending machines, espresso machines, porta diners, and ham radios. Like I said, there isn't really a whole lot being changed, but what the mods do change are redone nicely without going over the top. Next up is Vivid Fallout All-in-One. So this mod is pretty massive, but long story short, it essentially sharpens the Commonwealth to give things a little more texture. As you will be able to tell in these comparisons, the ground is sharper, the trees look better, rocks, roads, bridges, and concrete objects will all be touched up. The file size is pretty big at 529 megabytes, but it really does make the Commonwealth look a bit better. I can't really show you everything that this mod changes in a short amount of time, but what you're essentially seeing here leaves us with a pretty good idea of what it does. I think the mod gives us a feeling that everything is in higher definition. Overall, I like what this mod does, and it's fun to walk around and try to find the differences. The Stromberg Retexture project will be the last mod featured in the video. This is another retexture mod that affects many different things, some of those being chem and weapon workstations, power generators, sanctuary bridge, trash bins, Nuka-Cola machines, bricks, some architecture, and more. The thing I like most about this mod is the brick retextures. The Good Neighbor clip is a good example of that. I just really like the added detail. Of course, it's not like it's an in-your-face difference with any of these retextures, but I think what this mod provides is very good. I like what the author did with it. So that will do it for the retexture comparison video. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content just like this. As always, if you have any ideas for future videos, just let me know in the comments and I will try to make it happen, and of course, give you credit for the idea in the video. But quickly before the video ends, this week the channel hit over 300 subscribers and over 21,000 video views. That is seriously awesome, and I can't thank you all enough for the continued support. It truly means a lot, so I just want to thank you all. See you next time. Thanks for watching.